Let's discuss. We often like to get a different take from leadership expert and organizational change manager Mazwe Majola. Thank you for being with us, Ms. Majola. So can we go back to Friday? Start with the State of the Nation address. Your assessment, some saying that Cyril Ramaphosa was presidential.
It was a great speech. Remember, it was his maiden speech. He needed to announce himself. He needed to exert himself that now the eagle has landed.
Did he do that?
He did that, and he did that with aplomb. He did that. People of the country have been very despondent for the last few months, for the last few years. He had to restore hope. He had to bring a brighter future to them, and his speech was very good.
He hardly mentioned, if I recall, former President Zuma, who has accused him of not sticking to an agreement. Actually, there's been no sort of comeback. Does that make him look too tolerant, because he's been accused of things, or gracious, the bigger man in that scenario?
But that's what great leaders do. That's what great leaders do.
You let it slide.
Yes, absolutely. You don't want to be spend more time to the past, to your predecessor, but you just want to make sure that you continue with what your mission what the mission of you put, and then you go forward. Remember, since Cyril started these negotiations with the former President Jacob Zuma, he has done it very well. So many people even criticizing him, thinking that he's a coward. He was too soft on him.
It did take a while.
It did take a while, but for such a sensitive issue needed to be handled in that manner, and then he did very well, and now that is why he managed to grab so many people, to build his confidence, and even to take the whole country into his confidence. Because really spending time to talk about Jacob Zuma is not gonna. It's not gonna help him anymore. He needs now to concentrate. South Africans want to know what is going to happen in the future. Yes.
Okay. So, and there seemed to be a bit of a different tone in the debate on compared to previous State of the Nation addresses debates. Did you notice that in Parliament today?
Absolutely, because before it was done or delivered by a very unpopular leader in the name of President Jacob Zuma. Now this was the new leader. Everyone went there with anticipation and expectantly to see what is going to say. You want to hear what are the new promises, what is going to do for the country, and even the EFFs will know that they always disrupt the what you call the SONA. This time around, everyone was sitting down listening to the new president, which was very, very good.
So is that about leadership?
That is leadership. Leadership, as I'm saying, you exert yourself, you want to show people that now you've arrived, because remember, people have been so down, he needed to lift up the country, the spirit of the whole nation, that now on, listen, things are going to take different tone now. Things are going to change, and I'm here for you. And then remember, trust is the foundation of leadership. So he needed to build trust to the whole nation, that I'm your new leader. Please trust me. It was like it was a clarion call to say, I'm here, please trust me, receive me.
But the poor opposition, they need things to harp on about. Do you feel they are sort of scratching around? They're going to have to lead in a different way themselves now.
Now what's going to happen, because obviously, the old adage, actions always speak louder than words.
If he doesn't act on everything he said, he'll get nailed.
Whatever he said, now he needs to implement. And knowing Cyril, because Cyril is a very, very astute leader, a very experienced leader, politically, business, so he's got very good qualities. He knows that whatever he said there on Friday evening, he must make sure that he put plans so that he can implement those things.
So he's hinted that the amount of ministerial posts is just too much, that government has to resize. What does he need to do? What else does he need to do in the cabinet reshuffle that's expected?
He's got to make a very decisive and unpopular decisions. Our cabinet is too big. You know, we're talking about plus or minus 70 cabinet ministers and deputy ministers. From business background, Cyril, he wants a small and lean, effective and efficient cabinet and government departments that will execute, because it's very, very big. So what it's going to do, it's going to look at different departments and see which one he can combine and which one he can, erase. But that's a very good call from him.
And does he have to get rid of everybody who's seen as part of that Gupta family patronage network? Or should he also think about unity? Some people are speculating maybe even Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma should be brought into the cabinet.
That is going to be his major challenge. That's going to be his major challenge, because he has to clean up and to make sure that he starts in a new slate. At the same time, he needs to build unity. You know, he has been preaching unity in the party since December's election. Now he has to translate that to the unity within the country itself now. So he needs to make sure that he balances that, you know, which is going to be very difficult. Of course, that's one of the costs of leadership. Leadership is decisive. Leadership, it's about that. You've got to take costly decisions, because he has to make sure that he brings people who will be loyal to him. Any leader wants to be surrounded himself or herself by loyal people. Yeah. But at the same time, he must not be seen as now paging and just throwing away other people. But at the same time, he must make sure that he deals very decisively with those ministers that have been corrupt, what we call linked.
So there's huge speculation about the finance ministry, whether even Malusi Gigaba will give the speech this week. Presumably he will, and maybe a change after that. But what do you do with somebody like Minister Gigaba, where there's smoke? Maybe, but not fire when it comes to the claims of his relationships or helping the Gupta family, and seemingly a switch in loyalties as well. What do you do with someone like that?
As a leader, you've got to, because remember, you've got your plan, you've got your goals, and you know where you want to take the organization or the country forward. Now, you are a principled leader. Whatever you do, you are governed by your own principles. You have to make unpopular decisions. He must make sure that he applies results without losing his soul. Mm-hmm. He must make sure that whatever he does, he must do it in a principled manner, with integrity. Without obviously losing his principles or his convictions.
Please stay with us. We're just going to look at a few tweets, maybe a final comment from you, if we can bring up those tweets. Rumo, it will be nice for blacks to own land, but the reality is that when taken, it will be given to a few elite blacks. The poor will remain poor, while the rich blacks, whites, will remain rich. More on land compensation. Any person who seeks to expropriate land without compensation under the current dispensation will be committing an illegal act. Ken Sankara, the Musi Maimane and his DA dealt decisively on the issue of land. The decision by EFF not to be in any coalition was strategic and tactical. Evita Bazaid notes, we all know her, there's no need to expropriate land without compensation, as the government owns enough land to hand it out to most who need it. And Cyril Ramaphosa himself has called for some sort of audit of how much land government itself owns. Vote ANC out. When you ask people whose land they're going to take, they will never give you a straight answer. They will insult you, call you names. Lakota read the Constitution very well. EFF just wasting time with land issues. Finally, I hear Mangosuthu Buthelezi saying that the expropriation of land from the Amakosi is an abuse of power. But how are they using the land to benefit the people? So let's end with that, Mr. Majola. The land issue is going to be a very hot potato. Any advice?
It's a very emotional issue. Unfortunately, Cyril Ramaphosa, as the president of the ANC, he must stick to the policies of the organization. They have made that call of the expropriation of land without compensation. He must make sure that how, because the how is very important, what and how is very important in leadership. Now, the what is there, but the how is very important. He must consult, he must take people into his confidence, he must make sure that he brings all stakeholders together so that even those who are opposing it, they must at least see that it is...
Understand it, right, I guess, the policy, the direction.
Yes, they must be able to say that indeed this is a very important and valuable thing, so we must support the president. So, but he does have that skill because he's a negotiator. His quality is one of negotiator, and then he knows how to bring different stakeholders and different ideas together and formulate one idea.
All right, let's see if you're right. This will be a hard test for the new president. That was leadership expert and organizational strategist, Dr. Mazwe Majola.